Good evening, welcome wherever you and whenever you happen to be watching this, if you are watching this, welcome. I am attempting to write, perform, and produce an album from here in my shed. I'm currently working on a song called Project, and this is episode 38 of that process. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to follow it, please subscribe. And that would be a great help to the channel. Anyway. 1, 2, 3. So I got to a point with Project that seems to be a kind of the end of the road in some respects. I'm quite pleased with how little is in it, and yet how much it is able to do by my own standards, I mean, of course. But I've got at the moment the acoustic guitar part, which again I'm still very pleasantly surprised by how that's come out. I've got an electric guitar part and an organ part that just come in the intro and outro as sort of bookends to the song. There's a bridge with a small amount of electric guitar in it, but again it's just mostly acoustic. And then the acoustic and bass alongside the drums obviously hold up the whole of the verse, or verses should I say. Yeah, and as I said, I'm quite pleased with the kind of range of dynamics it kind of has because of its simplicity. Now, saying that, I have done some mixing, so I've bust a few things here and there, and I'll maybe run through what's been done on the track so far. And I've added a mastering plugin, the Abbey Road ARG, which is a Waves plugin, an emulation of the sort of Abbey Road, the modular Abbey Road desk. So I'm considering a couple of options at this point that I may or may not end up doing all of them. I think I'll probably do at least some of them. But essentially, I'm thinking of double tracking the vocals. I'm also thinking of doing some more just vocal rehearsing. So just going through, singing the song through a few more times. I'm not that keen on the delivery, and I don't know if that's because it's outside of what I normally do, and therefore it's jarring to me. That could be a good thing. I mean, maybe I should embrace that, and I have thought along those lines, because this is kind of designed to put me out of my comfort zone, and I should be putting this music out there the way it sort of comes to me is my feeling. But still, at the same time, that doesn't mean rehearsing it more and getting that delivery better and understanding more of what it is that the melody can do, maybe. I have to say my technique on this is pretty scattershot, as it is with most things, but I tend to find that if I sing if I sing through again and again, I suppose it's the same thing with everything. I tend to I suppose with my vocal, because it's probably the instrument I know best. Makes sense. I've had it the longest, but I tend to be able to spot gaps and jump through them to some extent with my vocal. So if I'm singing and repeating, then I can sometimes see places to go and stick with it. I find it harder on other instruments to do that, to sort of anticipate where it could go. I tend to make mistakes and then fall into it. Choose a similar thing, but it takes longer. With a vocal, I can spot that quicker and take advantage of it. So double tracking the vocals and or rehearsing them more. Definitely going to rehearse them more. If I double track them, that's kind of not 100% sure. Also, I did have a chat with Will, sort of sent him over the track to see what he'd think of it. And yeah, he liked the mix. He liked the track. I didn't talk to him about drums, but I'll get into that in a bit. And he he seemed to. His opinion was that it might be nice with some backing vocals. It was a suggestion of mine, and he sort of agreed. So that's a possibility. With the drum thing, I didn't talk to Will about maybe him recording the drums, and I could still ask that question, or I could take his suggestion. This might be one that I send off to something like Fiverr, to see what that process is like and what comes back. But again, there is that other element of me which is kind of like, well, the drums are done, and they're kind of a combination of mine and James's ideas, and maybe I'd like to keep them as they are. Or does that matter? It'll just be the drummer playing those same ideas just on a live kit, I suppose, is the other side of that. So anyway, still undecided. But the next steps are definitely to do one or all of those things. But why don't we have a look at what's been done already? So the acoustic's just sitting out on its own. It's been bussed both pre and post fader to the sort of room bus, the sort of whatever that. I can't remember exactly what's on that. Bus 2. Right, yeah, bus 2. So it's, yeah. So small room, drum booth 4. So it's going through a drum booth, but a small room essentially to add that reverb to it. So, and again, that's pre and post. So it's kind of getting both sides of the mix in there, but it's all just from that single DI in from the Heart Attack Acoustic Attack pedal. Really pleased with that sound. It really, I've shaped it and it's been easy to shape. I've liked it, holds up. I also like, so I've got the bass in as well. That's bussed. Let me just close up the vocal one. Where's the bass? Oh, there. So yeah, I've got the modern stack on there, which is a it's a bass amp on the DI. I think I've got it. Yeah, bass amp on the DI. And then I've got another bass amp on the bus, and that's a fuzz. That's a fuzz amp, so it got that gain that sort of cuts through with the bass. And so I do like the way the acoustic and the bass sit in the mix, especially in the verses. There's quite a lot of separation between the two instruments. And again, that goes back to this idea of I like the fact that it's that sparse. The vocal I have busted out. I'm not sure why it's got this descending volume. I don't remember doing that on purpose, so I'll need to check back what that's doing in the mix. But again, it's got some vocal distortion on there to help it cut through as well. And that's obviously then I would double that up and maybe harmonies and just put them all into that same track stack. Now I have found the difference between the summing stack and the folder stack, which is essentially just a summing stack allows you to add you can pan the whole thing, you can add plugins to it, you can bus it out as a whole to something. So it's got outputs on it, whereas the folder stack is literally just a way of foldering everything together. You can still control the volume with the folder stack, but that's the extent as to what you can do with it. There's a combination of both in here, and I'm still not 100% clear on what the difference is when to summing. I mean, I know the difference is like in terms of what they do, but whether it's better to add like things like compression and reverb on the track stack, or whether it's better to just have them bust out to the same. Kind of getting the feeling that what the bus kind of does is it glues. If you bus everything to the same reverb track, it kind of glues everything together. It gives it a feeling of all. And the same with the drums. Actually, I've bust them all through one compressor, to kind of glue them all together, and that seems to have worked. So a similar thing with the with like the reverb on that small room that I'm driving that through, for instance. So it kind of gives, it feels like it gives the mix, and like, for want of a better sort of description, it makes it feel like it's all in the same room, which makes a huge amount of sense. And yeah, I'm sure I'm probably just repeating the wisdom of ages and assuming it's something new, but in fact I know I'm doing that. But anyway, so the organ is just literally played once and then I've copied it over. I mean, there's quite a lot of rehearsal in there, but I didn't play it live on the second half. I just copied it across. The guitar I played all the way through, and actually this bit in the center here is kind of a percussive part to go through the verses. I didn't actually like what it did in the end, so I've just taken it out and I've just got the guitar coming in then into the bridge, a little bit into the intro to the intro, and then straight through the intro and the outro. Yeah. So that's a project. Got a few steps to be moving on with, and yeah, looking forward to kind of, and I think I am kind of erring towards with this one of just going straight through SoundCloud mastering once I have a finished track and releasing it onto Spotify. I figure why not? So there we are, project.